Hey everybody, welcome back. We are about to do a deep dive today
Yeah.
on something pretty fascinating. We're going to be looking at felony sentencing patterns
Okay.
in the U.S., going all the way back to 2010.
All right.
And we are really going to hone in on potential gender disparities in sentencing.
Interesting.
So we're going to be looking at whether men and women are sentenced differently
Yeah.
for similar crimes, and if so, try to figure out why.
Makes sense.
All of this is based on data straight from the Sentencing Commission.
Perfect.
So first things first, I think it's important to remind everybody that we are talking about felonies here.
Right.
We're talking about the most serious crimes in our legal system.
Exactly.
So this is not like a slap on the wrist kind of situation.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in.
Data on the screen, numbers come alive. Male, female flows where the patterns thrive. Visual charts, public colors unify. Gender decoded, bringing truth to light. Small drum fill. We break it down, real talk. Trends unveiling, facts from every block. Here's your insight, watch the data glide. Gender decoded, let the beats collide.
The data we have here is from like 2010 onwards.
Yeah, 2010 to the present. So
Yeah.
quite a lot of data to look at.
Yeah, so we're talking over a decade here.
Yeah.
And, there's this question like, are men and women always treated equally when it comes to being sentenced for crimes? It's a question a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know without looking at some hard data.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about the data we have is it's not like a super simple black and white picture.
It's kind of,
It's a little more nuanced than that.
yeah, there are definitely some patterns.
Yeah,
But
they raise more questions than answers in some cases.
yeah, and so for example,
Like when we look at property crimes.
or even like certain sex offenses. Okay.
Females actually tend to get longer suspended sentences.
Yeah, that's one of the things that pops out right away when you start looking at this data.
And can you explain maybe for somebody who's not...
Super familiar what a suspended sentence is?
Sure, yeah. A suspended sentence means you don't immediately go to jail?
The sentence is hanging over your head, so to speak.
Okay.
And then if you meet certain conditions like probation...
You can avoid jail time altogether.
Gotcha.
But what we see is that women are often given these longer periods of...
Potential punishment.
So longer than men.
For similar crimes.
Similar crimes, yeah.
Huh, that's kind of...
Unexpected, I guess.
It is, and it makes you wonder,
Why is that? Is it because the justice system sees women as more?
Likely to benefit from rehabilitation, are there other factors at play?
Like family responsibilities that might
Yeah.
be influencing these decisions?
I mean, I guess.
One question that comes to mind for me is...
Is it really like getting off easier because that suspended sentence is still a consequence? It's still a very real consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the topic of probation, which is, sort of...
A set of rules you have to follow after you've been convicted of a crime.
Right.
What we see in the data is that women tend to receive...
longer probation periods than men across a lot of different offense types.
Okay, so longer suspended sentences.
And longer probation.
And it almost seems like it's a...
stricter approach in a way.
Yeah, you could definitely argue that.
It could be that the courts are prioritizing supervision over incarceration for women.
Okay.
But then you look at
The data on serious offenses.
like homicide or other violent crimes, and you see a very different pattern.
Okay, what do we see there?
In those cases, men are receiving significantly longer.
Prison sentences.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Because you would think if...
There was this tendency to go easier on one gender, it would be kind of across the board.
Right. You'd think it would be consistent.
But it's not.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going on here?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are there differences in how men and women are represented by lawyers?
Are there unconscious biases at play?
Yeah.
I think the data gives us a starting point.
Yeah.
But it's really up to us to dig deeper.
Yeah. I mean,
what are some of the questions that come up for you?
for me, just thinking about, those differences between how
men and women are treated for those serious versus less serious crimes.
It makes me wonder, what role does gender really play?
In our perceptions of criminality.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
And I think, it's easy to sort of look at
statistics and data.
But there are real people behind these numbers.
Absolutely.
These are people's lives.
But it really makes you think about,
what are the societal forces at play here?
Right. And are we really being as fair and as impartial as...
We think we are as a society?
Yeah. So I think, after this deep dive, what really sticks with me
is that, we've got to kind of question
our own assumptions about
the justice system.
Yeah, I think that's the big takeaway here.
The data is
one thing, but understanding those human stories
and those societal forces is really, I think,
the next step.
Yeah. I completely agree.
So thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
And keep those questions in mind
as you go about your day.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.